Hello there. I hope you are doing well and taking this time to be fit, both mentally and physically. This being my first YouTube video, I really appreciate you were curious enough to click on this link out of all the thousands of videos out there. And I promise that the content I'm going to cover today will help you, no matter who you are, what stage of fitness your body currently is in, or whatever your circumstances when it comes to being able to take out the time and space to train and become fit. Let me first give you some perspective of why I made this video, because I think you will relate to what I'm about to say. When I began my journey to improve my physique, it was a little confusing. Where do I start? What are the exercises available? And which one should I choose? Do I need to go for a particular diet for better results? If so, which one? There are so many of them out there. How exactly do I schedule my training? I use this lack of clarity as an excuse to not work out, sometimes for weeks at a time. One more question which arises a little later is how to get the best out of my time, or to phrase it in another way, how do I see results faster? What are the best, most effective exercises available? Because when you don't see results as quickly as you hope, you tend to lose your motivation, which often leads to being inconsistent with your training. I decided to make this video because the answer to these questions are spread and fragmented across hundreds and thousands of videos and articles on the internet. Most of them have a significant overlap with each other. I made this video because I wanted to save the time for people out there who are right now at the same stage as I was, asking the same questions I was asking, about to browse through hours and hours of content, looking for that complete picture on how to get fit or ripped. I made this video because I would have loved to watch a single 20-minute video rather than watching 30 or 40 10-minute videos, reading so many articles, basically repeating the same things in a different way, helping me quickly lay my foundation and move on to other things. I want to clarify that this is a summary video. This summary includes points that I feel are key takeaways from all the fitness and workout videos out there, and that this video is not for someone who just wants instruction on how to train and follow them blindly, not focusing on why he or she is training that way. I made this video to give you a head start and allow you to skip a whole lot of stuff so that you can understand what you actually need to focus on when you start or restart your pursuit of fitness. I want this video to help you direct your questions to be more specific in nature, customized according to your situation, and not a simple and naive Google search like what is the best total body workout plan or what are the best foods for weight loss. Having set the context, let's dive into the 7 points you need to be aware of to make your dream body a reality. Right. So before starting anything, be aware of what it is you are training. The first question isn't what exercises are available or what exercises I should start with. The question before that is realizing your own anatomy, how your muscles are grouped, what are the respective functions. After you realize what each muscle group is primarily responsible for, you will start to see how different exercises fit into the picture. You will realize some are worth doing, some are not. You'll also be able to plan a training program all by yourself and know how to tweak any of those hundreds of routines available online to fit your needs. You will start finding exercise variations to suit your needs, equipment or no equipment. But more importantly, you will understand if that exercise is the best one available out of all the other exercises you saw before. Having said that, let us dive into and cover the major muscle groups, followed by an example to make things a bit clearer. Okay, so let me first explain what exactly a muscle does with the help of a muscle group beginners are obsessed with, the biceps. We see here that the biceps are in a contracted state. What does this mean? This means that the biceps have shortened in length from their earlier relaxed or stretched position. This is basically it. A muscle's function is to shorten or contract and stretch or relax, which allows all types of movement. Therefore, looking at this diagram, we can see that the bicep is responsible for pulling your hand closer to your body, hinged at the elbow joint. And similarly, the tricep, which is lying opposite to the bicep, which is currently in a relaxed position, when contracts, is responsible for the pushing motion away from your body, still hinged at the elbow joint. What is the implication of this? This means that during a standard bicep curl, you use a dumbbell to bring it to an elevated height. This should be the result only of elbow flexion. A common problem that you will notice is that in order to bring the dumbbell to a certain height, people unknowingly take the help from the shoulder muscles. The shoulder muscles help raise your elbow, and therefore you think that you completed the desired task, that was bringing the dumbbell up to a certain level. But in reality, you fail to isolate the muscle that should have done the majority of the work. The exercise is called a bicep curl and not a bicep curl with shoulder raise. I hope this example demonstrated what I meant when I said it is important to know the function of each muscle before moving on to their exercises. Now I will briefly cover the function of other major muscle groups which you need to take into account individually when formulating a training plan. Okay, while we are at our arms, let us cover all of it, which means learning about the forearm. The function of the forearm muscles is the rotation of the wrist and the flexion of the fingers. The forearm is often neglected, that is, it is not specifically trained as an individual muscle group. The good thing is, it is worked on in every single upper body exercise. All upper body exercises require the involvement of holding or pulling or pushing weights. This means the involvement of your wrist and fingers. That implies the involvement of your forearm muscles. Now that you know this, you can decide if you want to have a routine specifically to strengthen your forearms, or whether you think all those pull-ups and weightlifting are enough stimulation for them to grow. Okay, so here we see three more major muscle groups: your pecs or chest, your abs or core, which also contain your obliques, and your deltoid or your shoulders. Ignore the traps for now. We'll cover them when we see the muscles on our back. And I'm sorry for using such random images, but this is my first YouTube video. I realized how much effort can go into making a good one. But anyway, I think I will get better as we go. So we'll see how that goes. So coming back to the muscle groups, I would like to clarify one thing, that these muscles are not the only muscles comprising of these distinctive body parts. There are other muscles, but these make up the bulk of those parts, and therefore for the purpose of this video, it is enough to study the function of these muscles. So starting with the shoulders, you can guess that the shoulder muscle is responsible for shoulder flexion. That is, any movement starting at the shoulder joint responsible for moving your arms. A quick way to test this is to see whether your elbow moved. If your elbow moved in any direction, taking the rest of your arm with it, you can be certain that the shoulder was involved in that. So next, the chest muscles. As we can see, the chest muscles are going and connecting to the shoulders. This gives us a hint that they are involved in moving the shoulder. We can also see the fibers running in different directions. So first of all, we can imagine that the contraction of these fibers will move, let me use another color, will move our shoulders in these directions. So let me just quickly turn on the camera for a bit. Right, so we saw our chest muscles running in this direction, and we said that contracting those muscles move our shoulders closer. So that is the function of our chest muscles. It is the adduction of our arms. Adduction refers to the motion of bringing a body part closer to your center. And as we can see here in these diagrams, the angle at which we adduct our arms hits those fibers preferentially. So over here, for example, in this diagram, the inclined bench press, we hit the upper chest more than the middle or lower parts of the chest because of the angle at which the arms are adducting when lifting that barbell. Similarly, in this declined bench press, we can see that the lower chest muscles are being preferentially targeted, and the other two areas are still activated but not as much as the lower chest muscles. The lower chest muscles can also be hit using this dip, as you can identify both of those exercises. Adduct your arms in the same direction, just that in the declined bench press the person is lying down on a bench. The next muscle group is the core, which includes the abs as you know it and the obliques. By now I think you get the idea of how muscles work, given the direction the fibers go in. So I guess you can now relate to why the movement in crunches, sit-ups or leg raises work the abdominal muscles, and how the twisting of the torso, which from a different perspective can also be seen as the resistance to rotate your torso against a force, works your obliques. The main function of the core, which remember consists of both abs and the obliques, is stability, and therefore, while without fat loss your abs will never be visible, no matter how much you train them, it is still important to train them regularly, as without a stable foundation, all your effort will start to crumble as you lift heavier weights. Lastly, the final upper body muscle group is the back, which consists of the traps, the rhomboids, and the lats. The lats being the muscle group which provide that V shape that men are after. And by now I think you are well equipped to understand how muscle works, so I won't spend more time repeating that stuff. The purpose here is that you now know there are these individual muscle groups in your back, and you need to target each one of them for a complete back workout. At last, we come to the lower body. Whenever you hear someone say, never skip leg day, take that advice to your heart. Your lower body is half your body. You can't train your upper body 6 days a week and dedicate just a day for your lower body and then skip that day too. I'm going off topic here, so let us finish discussing the functions of these remaining muscles. We'll start with the hamstrings. The main function of the hamstring is to bend your knees. The opposite movement is therefore the function of your quads. The function of the calves is flexing the foot at the ankle. And finally, the muscle everyone tends to ignore, which by the way is the biggest muscle in the human body and the third strongest after the heart and a muscle in the jaw, I think. The glutes are responsible to keep your body erect and stable, along with being involved in hip movement. A lot of postural and stability issues originate from the hip as a result of underdeveloped and weak glutes, so they should always be a part of your leg workout. Knowing this, we now move on to understand what exactly makes our muscles grow and become bigger and stronger. Now that you know your muscle groups and their functions, let us see what makes them grow. Your muscle only understands tension. Your muscle understands when it is under stress. It doesn't care if that stress is coming from lifting a pair of dumbbells, a barbell, a bag full of books, stretching an elastic band, or from lifting your own body weight. A quick side note, whenever I say lifting weights later on in this video, it doesn't just mean dumbbells. Whenever you force your muscle to give a bit more than it is willing to give you comfortably, it causes micro tears in your muscles, which then heal to make your muscle stronger than before. This doesn't mean that you push your muscle to its absolute limit where it is at a risk of tearing. It means that when the fatigue sets in, say after n repetitions, and your muscle wants to relax, your brain is convincing you to relieve that tension by dropping those weights. Don't take the easy way out. Pump out those extra 2 or 3 reps which you know you can do If you command your muscles to try harder, that is when your muscles respond, coming back stronger the next time around. This is of course contingent upon the fact that you give it enough time to recover and provide it with the elements that it needs to build itself, protein being the main one. Also understand that muscle size is directly proportional to the weight you lift. A gradual increase in weights, which means higher levels of tension on your muscle, will be visible as a gradual increase in muscle size. Remember, it is gradual. Nothing worthwhile is achieved overnight, or else everyone would have it. Mind-muscle connection. This is probably the most important aspect you should be aware of when training. This is what enables your muscles to grow faster. Consciously squeeze the muscle your exercise is targeting. Remember, your body is a master of compensation, and it will take help from other muscles to perform the job as easily as possible. For example, when you perform a bench press, does your chest feel sore afterwards? For beginners, when you perform a bicep curl, does your shoulder fatigue before your bicep? In case of a bench press, your chest hasn't been worked upon for years. You can't really command your chest muscles the same way you command, say, your calf muscles. What is the point of doing the exercise if the burn isn't felt in the muscle group it was intended for? You therefore need to put a conscious effort to execute the exercise by the muscle group that is supposed to do the work, and make sure you feel the burn in the right muscle. The next point gives you some insight which might help you with this. Quality over quantity. Leave your ego at the door before working out. Lift lighter if need be. Don't let your strong muscles compensate for your weak muscles. Make every rep count. Lift 10 kgs with mind muscle connection in proper form rather than 15 or 20 kgs without both. Don't half-ass a repetition so that you could perform the desired number of reps in your set. The muscle you want to grow won't benefit from the shortcuts you are taking. Make it do the work it is supposed to do. Consciously control the muscle through its entire range of motion. Use weights you can command, and you will much faster be able to lift the weights you want to command. I just mentioned mind-muscle connection and proper form. You see, when you perform an exercise, having the correct posture in place, your muscle, bones, and joints can properly go through the desired range of motion, preventing injuries and enabling you to have a better mind-muscle connection, thus significantly increasing the quality of your rep. Correct posture puts your muscles in a position where it can be targeted effectively. One last thing I would like to touch upon while I'm at posture is that recognize your flaws. Concentrate on your weaker muscles because they are the ones that need the most effort. Postural flaws are often caused by weak muscles elsewhere, majorly the muscles around your hip, which are not providing you with the stability you need to perform an exercise in a certain way. Flaws in posture can also be due to some injury, due to accumulated loss of flexibility over the years, or maybe just there anatomically by birth. For example, anterior or posterior pelvic tilt, as seen in this image, can be either a muscle weakness issue or a spine issue by birth. In any case, it is important to address these issues and figure out what you can do about it, rather than taking the easy way out, which is not doing a certain exercise because your posture doesn't allow it. Although, the only thing worse than not training is continuing to train with bad form, as it will inevitably lead to an injury, which, depending on its severity, can prevent you from working out for a long time, halting and even reversing much of the progress you made so far. A small tip for the beginners: if you want to increase the quantity of quality reps in the same amount of time, look into supersets and drop sets. In a superset, while one muscle group is recovering from a set, you perform another set targeting another muscle without taking a break. You then switch back to the first exercise, effectively saving the time of your break and taking advantage of your continuously elevated heart rate. For example, performing a set of 10 bicep curls followed by a set of 10 tricep extensions. Or another example is performing one upper body exercise and then immediately moving on to a lower body exercise. A drop set, on the other hand, lets you fatigue one muscle as much as possible by slightly dropping the weights. For example, you did 8 close grip push-ups and can't do any more. You then drop to your knees to pump out 3 or 4 knee push-ups, where you effectively drop the weight of the push-up by half, allowing you to exhaust that little bit of strength left in your muscles and feel a good burn without the risk of getting injured. Speaking of push-ups, we come to our next point. Do not ignore your heavy compound exercises. A compound exercise is any exercise which demands the use of more than one muscle. You have your squats, deadlifts, push-ups, pull-ups, lunges, etc. These are the exercises that actually showcase your strength levels, because in these exercises your muscles work together as they do in real life. An isolated bicep curl is not something that you can come across in a real life scenario. The amazing thing about compound exercises is that you can load them heavier than individual isolated exercises, because your different muscle groups are now working together to make it happen. Just remember, maintain proper form, have a good mind muscle connection, and lift the weights you can rather than the weights you want to. Again, leave your ego out the door when entering the gym. Don't be self-conscious and think what other people will say. You are doing this for yourself, and it will be worth it when you see that you are getting your results faster in a few months. And the bonus is not getting injured. Finally, the point that I think made you click on this video. Let me first state the obvious fact that everyone must make peace with. Fat is only lost when you burn more calories than you consume. This is not the only thing I have to say here. The trick is to target the two parts of the statement, that is burn and consume individually. We'll talk about burning calories first. You may not like this, but cardio shouldn't be your main focus when burning calories. It should be weight training. I would like to clarify, I am not against cardio. I think it should be done, but for its cardiovascular and endurance benefits, rather than for weight loss. Allow me to explain why I am saying this. Point number 1. Putting on muscle in the long run will help you stay lean, because someone with more muscle mass continuously burns more calories than someone with comparatively less muscle, despite them being in the same weight range, even when they are at rest and doing nothing. Point number 2. In cardio, your calorie burn is concentrated in that single workout effort. If you do just cardio, A, your body becomes more efficient in doing it, that is, it learns to do the same work for lesser calories, and B, you have to keep counting and keeping track of how many calories you burned and how many calories you consumed. There will be days when you can't get your cardio done, and also days when you will eat one too many fries. You will notice that you are not losing any weight because you are actually in a caloric surplus in the long run. The last point is that cardio also takes a heavy toll on your muscles and joints. A 30-minute running session, and I mean running, not jogging or walking, will demand a lot from your calves and other leg muscles, along with strain to your knees. Your body needs to recover from these cardio sessions. It needs to spend precious resources to do that. So if your body is recovering from cardio, how do you perform your weight training effectively? Wouldn't you rather mainly train for strength, gaining muscle, because of the benefit I mentioned in the first point? So what's the solution? Don't get rid of cardio. If you really love doing cardio, dedicate 2 or 3 days max in a week for it. Or have one high intensity cardio day and perform some light cardio the other days, only after you weight train and not before, so that you get the maximum out of your weight training. A thing to keep in mind here is whenever you can, prefer high intensity cardio over low intensity cardio, such as walking. You will burn the same amount of calories in less than half the time, and it also has more overall cardiovascular benefits because it really gets your heart pumping. For overweight people or someone with a knee injury though, it is advisable to walk, not run, and again therefore direct more effort on weight training rather than putting unnecessary strain on their knees and calves. Remember, recognize your flaws and work accordingly. Lastly, either run or walk or even power walk instead of jogging. I won't cover the reason here, but I would encourage you to check out this video by Jeff Cavalier from athleanx.com, who, to be honest, is responsible for more than 70% of this video's content. His videos are full of great tips and information backed by logic and reasoning, and I would highly recommend everyone to check out his channel as he is the best free personal trainer you can get, even better than most of the paid PTs you will find in your nearest gym. Right. So the second part now is calorie consumption. A simple rule to live by is that don't diet. A diet means depriving yourself of certain foods. For example, a keto diet requires you to limit yourself to just 50 grams of carbs a day. A diet has an expiry. You lose weight by following a diet, you have to most likely keep following that specific diet, or else you will start gaining your weight back as soon as that diet ends. Diet is therefore not a long-term solution. Rather, have a nutritional plan. Recognize which healthy foods you like. Be creative and think about how you can make them taste better. It can be done. Take some time to research about it. You will definitely find recipes and techniques that work for you. Divide your average daily intake into 40% protein, 40% fibrous carbs, that is veggies, and 20% starchy carbs and healthy fats throughout the day. Imagine eating food that is not only good for you, but you actually like eating. You will be able to stay consistent with your eating, getting all the necessary nutrition required to grow muscles and stay healthy. You would not be depriving yourself of things you like. If you still need convincing, check out this video. Apart from formulating a nutrition plan you can be consistent with, recognize the difference between being hungry and being snacky. Sometimes you feel like you're hungry, but actually you just want to eat that packet of chips at your home. The way to know that you are not hungry is that when you realize someone else ate those chips and you aren't eating those fruits there on the table. That is because you weren't actually hungry. Still, it is a good idea to have something healthy to snack, like almonds or sprouts with lime and seasoning maybe, because we all feel snacky at times. Remember, eating fries once every 2 weeks means you didn't eat fries for 339 days out of 365, which is still 93% of the time. It's okay to indulge in foods from time to time, as long as you don't skip training. What is not okay is to overindulge and go on a non-stop spree of eating junk week after week. So the takeaway is, don't diet. There is an expiry on it. There will come a day, a few weeks, a few months, or a few years from now, where you will fail and go back to square one. Invest some time devising a healthy and tasty nutrition plan, having all types of food you can be consistent with. Speaking of consistency, it is, to no one's surprise, the final point. Everyone knows they have to be consistent, but only a few know how. There is something I have to say about this, but it isn't a logical part of this video. I think it is enough to just convey that consistency is the seventh big point you need to abide by to get fit. Therefore, I won't make this video any longer, as I have covered all the points I wanted to share. If you still want to know the secret to consistency, or rather my take on it, I think it is worth checking out my second video, the link to which I have given below in the description. I hope this video helped you guys learn something useful, especially the beginners, and I wish you all the best on your fitness journey. Cheers.